Hello friends, welcome back. In this tutorial we will study about deadlock. Now see what is a deadlock. Suppose there are two processes P1 and P2, right? For their execution they need some resources. This process P1 needs a resource B, and this resource B is held by process P2, right? So the process P1 is waiting for a process P2 to release this resource B, right? And for its execution this process P2 needs a resource A, and this resource is held by process P1. So this process P2 is waiting for process P1 to release the resource A, right? So process P1 is waiting that process P2 will release the resource B, and process P2 is waiting that process P1 will release the resource A. Both of the processes P1 and P2 are waiting for each other, right? So such type of conditions are called deadlock, right? For deadlock there are four conditions. If these four conditions hold simultaneously in the system, then the set of processes is said to be in deadlock. So what are these four conditions? First one is mutual exclusion. So what is this condition, mutual exclusion? It specifies that at least one resource must be held in non-shareable mode, right? It means that at least one resource must be held in non-shareable mode, which means that only one process at a time can use that resource. If another process requests that resource, then that process will have to wait until the resource has been released by the process which is using that resource, right? So this is the first condition. Second is hold and wait. So what does it mean? It means that a process is holding some resource and it is waiting for another resource which is held by another process, right? So this is the second condition, hold and wait. So what this condition is specify? It specifies that the process must be holding at least one resource and waiting to acquire another resource, and that is currently being held by some another process, right? Third is non-preemption. So what this condition means, or what this condition specifies, it specifies that resources cannot be preempted. It means once a resource has been allocated to a process, then that resource cannot be taken away from that process, right? That resource can only be released by the process after completing its task, right? It means once a resource has been allocated to a process, then the process will keep the resource until it completes its task. After completing its task, the process will release the resource. That a resource cannot be preempted from the process. So this is the third condition. Fourth condition is for deadlock is circular wait. Suppose there are processes P1, P2, P3, so on up to Pn, right? And what happens in a circular wait? These processes are waiting for each other to release the resources in a circular manner, right? They must be waiting in a way like this. P1 is waiting for some resource which is being held by process P2, and process P2 is waiting for some resource which is being held by P3, and P3 is waiting for some resource which is being held by process P4, right? And so on. The process P and minus 1 is waiting for some resource which is being held by process Pn, and this process Pn is waiting for some resource which is being held by process P1, right? So there must be a circular wait. So if these four conditions hold simultaneously in the system, then the set of the processes is said to be in deadlock.